So the executive order establishing the strategic Bitcoin reserve does allow the government to purchase more if it can be done in a budget neutral way. So specifically, if either the Commerce Department or the Treasury Department can figure out how to fund it without adding to the debt, then they are allowed to create those programs. So if we can convince Howard Lutnick, who's the Commerce Secretary, or Scott Bessent, who's the Treasury Secretary, to buy some, and they can figure out how to fund it, without a new tax or without adding to the debt, then maybe find the money from some other program that's not using it, then we could potentially acquire more Bitcoin.
Bitcoin has skyrocketed to a new all-time high near $111,900, marking a 50% surge since April as the Federal Reserve grapples with a towering $40 trillion debt crisis. Simultaneously, the US dollar has dropped to its lowest point in 2023, triggering fears of a looming $6 trillion financial shock that could reshape global markets. This collapse has fueled speculation of a historic market shift, setting the stage for what could become Bitcoin's most powerful rally yet. Investor and Bitcoin strategist David Sachs recently pointed to a quiet but potentially game-changing policy move: a U.S. executive order that opens the door for a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Under this directive, departments such as Commerce and Treasury are now permitted to acquire Bitcoin, but only in a budget-neutral way. This means no new debt or tax increases, just a reallocation of unused government funds. It's a calculated approach that allows for Bitcoin adoption without causing political or fiscal turbulence. What's most striking is the shift in how Bitcoin is being viewed. No longer seen purely as a speculative asset, it's now being considered a matter of national interest and long-term value. If the Treasury and other agencies act on this, the U.S. could quietly and methodically build its position as a serious player in the Bitcoin space, all with strategic intent and minimal public resistance.
So, we just had the first 100 days in the administration, and it's just incredible how much the president's gotten done. Just in the area of crypto, it's really amazing. I mean, I never do this, but there was so much that's happened in the last 100 days. I have to pull out my cheat sheet. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, how much time do we have? Because this might take a little while.
Let me just highlight a few of the most important things. So first of all, you're right that on the president's first full day in office, he pardoned Ross Ulbricht. 2 days later, he signed a Week 1 executive order to promote U.S. leadership in digital assets. That EO prohibited CBDCs. It ordered the end of Operation Choke Point 2.0, and it created our President's Working Group on Digital Assets that I'll get to in a second. In March, he established the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, which treats Bitcoin as a reserve asset of the United States for the first time. And then we also hosted the first Digital Assets Summit at the White House, which is the first time that digital assets or crypto has been treated in that way as an industry that's arrived. There's also been a ton of work that's been done on the sort of agency rulemaking side. The president rescinded the IRS's DeFi broker rule. We rescinded SAB 121, which effectively prevented banks from getting into custody of Bitcoin.
This is how you buy and sell crypto the easy way, using eToro, one of the world's leading trading platforms. If you're new to crypto, eToro makes it super simple. Let me show you how I bought Solana in just a few taps. First, head to the search bar and type in Solana. Tap on it, then hit trade. I'm going to invest $10, that's the minimum. Now just hit buy and done. I now own Solana. Selling is just as easy. Go to Portfolio, tap your Solana asset, then click Close and confirm your sale. Super simple. That's how quick and beginner-friendly eToro is. But here's why I use eToro. Earn up to 4.3% interest on non-invested funds, 0% commission on stocks, and you can set up an account in just minutes if you want to start your crypto journey. Use my link in the description to sign up to eToro today and start trading.
The DOJ ended its regulation by prosecution approach, which ended these aggressive legal actions against digital asset firms without telling them what the rules are. I mean, we had this approach under Gensler where he would say, well, just come in and talk to us. I heard all these stories from crypto founders that they were told, well, just come in and talk to us. And then there'd be someone from the enforcement division in these meetings writing down everything they'd say. And then the next day they would get a Wells notice and the prosecution would start us. Well, who would want to, people learned very quickly not to go in and talk to the SEC. So the DOJ has ended that. The SEC has established a crypto task force to provide regulatory clarity. Hester Peirce has done an amazing job with this. The Federal Reserve Board, the OCC, and FDIC have all issued favorable guidance for banks to engage in crypto-related activities, which I think is a very important step to further mainstreaming crypto adoption. And then my personal favorite is that the administration defunded the CFPB, which is Elizabeth Warren's personal regulatory agency. This was her personal goon squad to terrorize crypto companies, and that got defunded. So that's just a small sample of what's been accomplished in just the first 100 days. Is pretty incredible. And then, you heard from Senator Haggerty a minute ago what's happening on Capitol Hill. There's the stablecoin bill's about to pass, the Genius Act, and then I don't think that's going to be the end of it. I think on the heels of that, there's also a market structure bill that's coming that I think will also likely pass before August. And the point of the market structure bill is to enshrine all of the new rules that we've put in place into law so that a future Gary Gensler can't just unwind everything that we've done. I don't want to measure, what we accomplish exactly through price levels. I guess I want to measure it through innovation levels, but I will say that I did notice that Bitcoin just hit a new all-time high the other day, and that was great to see. Look, at the end of the day, we see that blockchain, Bitcoin, crypto, this is the financial system of the future. And we want this innovation happening in the United States. We don't want it driven offshore. That's basically what was happening before, is because under the Biden administration, and as we all know, Elizabeth Warren had the auto pen, all this innovation was being driven offshore. It was being driven to other countries. And that's not the American way. I mean, the American way is always to be the innovator, the leader in technology. And we want this financial revolution happening in the United States. We want to be leading in this. We don't want to be driving it offshore. It's crazy. Well, I've noticed a number of states are acting on the Bitcoin Bill of Rights, and I think it would be good for the federal government to do something as well. And I think we can incorporate those concepts, the right to self-custody, the right to financial freedom in the what's called the market structure bill. So I hope we can do that. Well, definitely one of the common denominators between AI and crypto or Bitcoin is that you do need energy. You need power. You need electricity. You need electricity to power GPUs for AI data centers, and you need it for Bitcoin ASICs to generate hash power. So this is something that we definitely need to do more of in the United States. We need a lot more power to basically fuel this future of AI and crypto. And I think the president definitely got us off on the right foot by, with drill, baby, drill. He definitely wants to unleash oil and gas production in the U.S. So that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Also making it a lot easier to permit new energy production, new pipelines, and then also permitting the creation of new data centers. I think we want most of the new, let's call it AI compute, and most of the new hash power to be in the U.S. if we can. I mean, it would be nice for there to be more hash power in the United States, just like we want there to be a lot more, AI data centers. So I think, we're going to try and make it a lot easier to again, like build. Beyond drill, baby, drill, we need to build, baby, build, and it just needs to be a lot easier in the United States. And I just got back from a trip to the Middle East with the president, and he did something like $3 trillion of new deals with the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar. And I think the president's been very focused on getting net new investment in the United States, including for data centers. Also helping the American technology stack spread internationally and become the standard. So, for example, we just did a deal in the UAE where they're going to be building a huge campus for American AI companies, cloud service providers, hyperscalers to build new data centers, and then they're going to make a matching investment in the United States in the build out of data centers. So this is the kind of stuff that the president's looking at. He wants to encourage investment in the U.S. He wants to encourage the build out of data centers. He wants to encourage new energy sources. And just generally, he's on the side of innovation and the future. Whereas if you look at the Biden administration, they were really doing everything they could to stop all of those things. I mean, you had the Gensler SEC, you had all the restrictions on oil and gas. They were even alienating our Gulf state allies who want to invest in America and they want to be on the American tech stack. And the Biden administration was doing everything they could to limit the export of American technology, forcing those countries to potentially choose Huawei. It just didn't make any sense at all. So I feel like what we have in Washington right now is just a sea change. It's just a total comprehensive shift from being anti-innovation to being pro-innovation and being, much more future-oriented and getting all the obstacles out of the way and helping the private sector innovate. And it's really just been incredible. It's been really fun to be part of. Like I said, I never anticipated that I'd be part of this administration. I'm just a guy from Silicon Valley who hosted a dinner, and then the next thing you know, I'm helping to drive this agenda in Washington. But I think that it's been really incredible to be part of and see the whole thing take shape.
The first 100 days of the new administration have marked a transformative moment for crypto in the U.S. What was once a regulatory minefield has rapidly evolved into a landscape of opportunity. From pardoning Ross Ulbricht to banning central bank digital currencies, these early decisions weren't just symbolic gestures, they were strategic signals. The message is clear. The government is no longer just tolerating digital assets, it's actively making space for them. A key highlight was the establishment of a strategic Bitcoin reserve, officially recognizing Bitcoin as a sovereign-grade asset for the first time in U.S. history. Outdated IRS and SEC regulations that once stifled innovation and shut out traditional banks have been rolled back. Crypto founders, who used to walk into meetings fearing lawsuits, are now being invited to the table, and this time, it's not just performative. Federal agencies, from the DOJ to the Federal Reserve, are beginning to align around a unified framework for digital asset regulation. This signals a broader ambition: to reclaim technological leadership by bringing next-gen infrastructure, AI, crypto, and data centers back to American soil. Strategic deals with Gulf nations are driving capital into the U.S., and energy policy is being reshaped to support this rapid growth. It's no longer about playing catch-up, it's about leading the future without bureaucratic drag. While David Sachs continues to push forward state-level Bitcoin policy and regulation, Samson Mow brings a grassroots perspective, emphasizing that Bitcoin adoption isn't just achieved through legislation or corporate strategy. It's built through education, conviction, and strong communities.
You know the phrase eternal September, right? It's just there's always new people coming in. And it's like a combination of motivation and greed, where they come into this space, quote unquote, like the crypto space, and they see Bitcoin up here at, what are we at, 84 something, and they think, okay, that's out of reach for me. It's a bit of unit bias, but it's also like they kind of think, I can't be that dumb that I missed this, and I must find something that everyone else missed. And then they look at altcoins and they maybe think, okay, well, yeah, there's this thing with high potential. It's a great blockchain and it's got a great team, and therefore it will, unseat Bitcoin. And they're going to pick one of these random things that has the potential to, go 10x or 100x without understanding that, all of these things die over time. Like there is no altcoin that doesn't die off against Bitcoin. And at the same time, a lot of these projects are very well financed because a lot of them have Bitcoin. So they are effectively Bitcoin derivatives using Bitcoin gains to market themselves, make themselves relevant, lobby the government like XRP, and trick more people into buying them. So the solution really is we need more Bitcoin maximalists, period. That's it. We just need more Bitcoin maximalists, and we need to convert more people to Bitcoin maximalists. And it's already a process that happens naturally because people get burned, dabbling in altcoins, shitcoins, and degenerate schemes, and then they become Bitcoin maximalists. But we need to accelerate this and get more of us out there. Yeah, unfortunately, there is no difference between a maximalist and a toxic Bitcoin maximalist. You're just a maximalist. The toxic attribution comes from the shitcoiners that don't like that we expose their projects. So we're always going to be toxic maximalists, right? There's no way around it. When you're speaking truth to power, when you're asking questions that people don't like asked, then you become toxic and you become person non grata. And that's just the way it works. No one likes their scam to be questioned or their dishonesty to be questioned or, anything like that. So we're always going to be maligned, but the beautiful thing is there's always going to be more and more of us. So the truth always comes out in the end. And I think we are the faction that is driving the exposure of truth. Everyone is doing a podcast. There's a lot of them right now, and there's more every day. But are you actually expanding the audience, the potential audience for people learning about Bitcoin, or are you just catering to the same, couple thousand plebs on X or Nostr or whatever right now? And I think if you really want to contribute, you have to broaden our reach and get new audiences, come up with new ways to orange pill people. And it's not just, sharing your pod on X. That's just catering to the existing group or preaching to the choir or however you want to put that. But this is why I find Aladdin's Bitcoin trading cards project really interesting, because that's actually expanding the reach of Bitcoin. When he's going out to these comic shows, conventions, and he's next to like Wizards of the Coast and Pokemon trading cards and all that stuff, I think it sends a very strong message, and it really is something that can be used to bring in people interested but not in Bitcoin to learn more and play it, like collect the cards, trade them, do whatever, but get involved. And it's not a overt way, like hitting someone in the head and saying you need to learn about Bitcoin, but you do it in a sly roundabout way, which is you get to collect these really beautiful cards, and they're just getting more and more beautiful every generation. So it's kind of a natural progression that I think is really good at orange pilling people.
Every bull run brings a wave of newcomers into crypto, full of excitement, curiosity, and just enough confidence to repeat the same old mistake. They see Bitcoin at $84,000 and assume they've missed the boat. So they chase altcoins, believing they've discovered the next big thing. It's not just unit bias, it's the conviction that they're too sharp to have arrived late to the party. But what many fail to realize is that most altcoins eventually bleed out against Bitcoin. The hype fades, communities drift away, and investors are often left holding worthless tokens. Meanwhile, Bitcoin keeps moving forward. This is why so many eventually circle back to Bitcoin, not out of tribal loyalty, but because experience has stripped away the noise. Hard lessons bring clarity. And while Bitcoin maximalists are often labeled as toxic for calling out bad projects, the discomfort really stems from people not wanting their illusions shattered, especially when money is involved. If we want Bitcoin adoption to grow, it can't remain trapped in echo chambers like podcasts or crypto Twitter. It needs to break into new spaces and speak to people in fresh, relatable ways. That's why grassroots efforts, like Bitcoin-themed trading cards at Comic-Cons, are more important than they seem. They don't preach, they spark curiosity. And sometimes that spark is all it takes to plant the seed. So as we wrap up, what do you think has a greater impact? Top-down policy changes or bottom-up grassroots outreach? Let us know in the comments. Before we continue with the rest of the video, do check out daily 5-minute crypto newsletter with all the latest crypto and Bitcoin news. It's a fantastic analysis of on-chain crypto data and breakdowns, and the best part is it's absolutely free. They'll cover expert predictions, breakdowns of on-chain crypto data, and any breaking news you need to know, all in a nutshell. Click the first link in the description and enter your email to join over 50,000 others in becoming a better crypto investor right now. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.